Good morning, YouTube. Happy Labor Day weekend. It's Sunday. Stayed up a little late last night playing Skylords of Mars with Eric. I can't say his last name. It's French Canadian. I'm from Brooklyn. It's not happening. Eric Lamoureux, whatever. It's up on YouTube. Skylords of Mars. It was a blast. We had fun. Anyway, told you guys I was going to do a quick review of Frostgrave since I was talking about it the other day in my other videos. And so, Frostgrave, again, miniatures combat, like I said, a great gateway into role-playing and or miniatures games, depending on which way you're going. If you're a diehard miniatures player and you want to get into the RPG side of things, it's a great way to start because it's a narrative campaign. This is the core rule book, hardback. Full color art in it. A lot of the art is miniatures that are, the studio is painted and they've put them together. I'm trying to find a good one. There's a couple really good ones in here of like mass battle scenes or, here's some creatures. There's a good one. There you go. There's a barbarian about to take on a biggin. So a lot of the art is that style of their house miniatures or whatever miniatures from Osprey Games. This is published by Osprey Games, and Joseph McCullough is the writer and author, and he maintains a blog, so you can go look for him, and you can get to his blog from Osprey Games website. He's got a couple freebies up there. The community has put together a couple of really good wizard warband sheets because your character that you play is a wizard, and then that's pretty much you on the board. And then there's an apprentice, which is like a mini-me, and then you hire up to 8 other guys. There's ways to increase your warband a little bit, like 11, 12 guys by summoning critters, but not always easy to do. It's a D20 game. You don't really need any other dice. You can use them as tokens and things like that. But the main mechanic is a D20, and you want to roll low. So you have a target number to cast a spell, and you want to roll that number or less on a D20. The cool thing about the game is there's wandering monsters. It's a narrative campaign, meaning you play a game, there's things that happen. The whole point of the game is there's this city called Felstad that thousands of years ago was a huge city of mages and wizards and warlocks and magic practitioners. And somebody or something did something really bad, and it exploded and turned it into an eternal winter, or at least they thought, for like thousands of years, and it was frozen over and nobody went there. It was bad juju. Well, the frost has started to thaw, and so people are going there now, and they call it Frostgrave now. And there's tons of magic items just laying around, potions, scroll books. So, the modern day wizards and spellcasters are obviously hot to trot because all that knowledge has been lost when Felstad went under the snow or under the ice. And so your job is to hire a warband and go into Frostgrave and gather as much treasure as you can and escape with it, so that you can increase your knowledge, become more powerful, and then hire bigger and better mercenaries or warband members to your warband. So your minions don't necessarily garner experience in this book. The best you can have is like a knight, I believe, and you and your apprentice. Your apprentice automatically goes up as you go up. So you can increase your wounds, you can increase your magic stat, you can get magical items that will increase your strength or your melee combat and things like that. And then, of course, the wounds are the big thing that go up. You can also increase your spell knowledge. And it's pretty cool how they do spell knowledge. There's like, I think right at 100 spells or over 100 spells in the game. And each type of magic user has a specialty, a fondness, and a weakness. And so your specialty, if you're a necromancer, will be like necromantic magic. And then that would be your specialty. And then your fondness, or, what you're closely related to, would be like witchcraft, chronomancy, and elementalism. And then your your banes, or the things that you can't cast, would be like sigilism, things like that. And so you get to take X amount of spells from your primary school, and you get to take a couple from your aligned school, and then you don't get to take any from the school you're not aligned to. If I remember correctly, I have yet to play. I've got a warband put together. I chose a necromancer, and I bought the cultist box set of miniatures. I had backed their what they called a Nick starter, which was in England, and I backed it, and it was pretty cool. It was like $30-$40, and I got close to $70-$80 worth of stuff, because I got the Thaw of the Lich Lord, which is the next supplement, and I got a box of miniatures, and then a whole bunch of pewter type miniatures, and some treasure tokens and stuff. So this is a great gateway into RPGs, because you're actually creating a narrative campaign, and you're creating a character. You don't roll your stats. Everybody starts off the same, but you have diversity in what kind of spells you get to choose and what kind of hirelings that you hire. So like the necromancer, a couple of the other classes get to summon skeletons or demons. So you can, they're called pre-game spells that you get to kick off. And there's even one where I think it's the illusion school. You can create a false treasure, and so you put it out there, and everybody places treasure. You obviously take turns placing treasure depending on how the scenario, and then there's an extra treasure token added to the pool. And then what you do is, after all the treasure is placed, you make a little note which one is the fake treasure, and then you keep it off to the side. And this is before the game starts. And then when the opposing player goes to that treasure, you can go, ha, it's fake. You got nothing. So there's a little strategy involved, but also a little role playing and stuff like that. And so this was the first book, and like I said, it retails for $25. Hardback book, very well done, very well put together. For $25, you got a complete game. Only thing you need, you don't even have to use. You don't even need to go out and buy miniatures. If you're an RPGer, you've probably got a bunch of miniatures laying around already, or tokens, or flats, figure flats from like Paizo that you could use, or Fat Dragon Press years ago put out these tins that were like $30, and they had a ton of flats in them. So anything like that would work. The cool part is you could even you could use dice. I mean, what I started to do with the warband that I was creating is I was going to use the Paizo Pathfinder and or D&D pre-painted miniatures, because I don't have a lot of time to paint as much as I would like to, and moving and getting ready for a baby and all that fun stuff. I figured this is a perfect way to create a warband. You do your pre-painted miniatures, just say which one is, and boom, good to go. Throw them in a plastic bag, off to the gaming store or your friend's house or your house, whatever, and you're good to go. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you actually play this, and the amount of money that you have to fork out. Most of your local game stores have terrain. Of course, this is set in a wintry setting, fat mats, and there's a couple other. I think Gale Force 9 has a frozen tundra type mat, and they're basically, if you don't know what a gaming mat is, they're like big neoprene mouse pads with not textured, but silk screened or printed on images of terrain. So it could be a snowy ground, it could be a desert ground, it could be a graveyard, whatever. And they retail for around $60 to $70 for the big mats. The 6x6 mats are, I think I got my 4x4 mat for $60 at Paper Heroes in Lake Charles. And I got a cobblestone mat, so it looks like a Victorian England city street, cobblestones and bricks. But again, you could use anything. You could use a green cloth or a white sheet pulled over your thing and just say it's all snow. So again, the introductory cost to this game is literally $25. I believe you can buy it in PDF now off of Amazon. I got mine off of Amazon when it first came out for $16. So it was pretty awesome. So that's the first book, and this gives you plenty. There's 10 scenarios in here. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's a good deal for $25. Then they did a Nick starter, which is their version of a Kickstarter over there in England, where I guess Osprey Games is from. And it was called Thaw the Lich Lord. And it's a softback. A little black and white, mostly color. The black and white is just art, some color art, but it's very, very well done. Like there's a nice piece. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a nice piece of art there. This is a narrative campaign, and where the point of it is to kill the Lich. There's an all-powerful Lich that has thawed with the Felstad thawing out, and he's taking control of all the undead and evil, nasty things in Felstad, or in a section of Felstad, and your job is to go in and put him down. But the cool part is, if you're playing like the type of evil character like what I'm playing a necromancer, you can become a lich, and there are some pros and cons to it, and it's a hard spell to cast, but by the time you finish this campaign, you should have a decent chance to cast that spell and become a lich, and then you keep playing the game. So I thought it was cool. There's just new monsters in here, there's new types of undead, and there's brand new treasure maps in here. So there's a whole bunch. There's a campaign in here. I think it's another 10 adventures. Yes, it's 10 adventures. There's new soldier types. There's the bard, the crow master, which is like a hawk master in medieval times, but they use crows because they're plentiful. There's the javelineer, which is basically a dude that used javelins. And then there's a pack mule, which literally it's a mule that you buy, and it can carry more shit. So that's pretty solid. There's 3 new spells: the Homunculus, the Lichdom, and the Revenant. Revenant are really nasty undead. Lichdom obviously is pretty self-explanatory, and Homunculus it's really cool. You create it, you lose a permanent, I think it's 1 or 2 hit points while you have a Homunculus, but you keep it in you have to have a base of operations, which is one of the things in the core rulebook that you can get. But once you have a base of operations, you can get the Homunculus spell. You cast it out of game. You lose, I think it's 2 hit points, but you lose those hit points. And then what happens is, if you die in game, because after the game is over, you roll to see if your guys live or die, or if they're maimed. If you die, you don't die. Your Homunculus automatically grows up and becomes you, and you keep all your memories and everything. You're permanently lost the 2 hit points, but other than that, you're okay. So you're giving up permanently 2 hit points, but you don't have to roll a new guy if you die. So, and I've seen it. Ash on Gorilla Miniatures on his YouTube channel, they have an ongoing campaign of Frostgrave, and I've seen him. Their guys have died a couple times because it's a random dice roll, and I think it's a 1 through 5 on a D20, you're dead, and then a 6 through 9 you're maimed. You have to miss the next game, and then 9 above you're fine. But the wizards have slightly different rules. And again, I haven't yet got to play this game, but I do enjoy. I've watched a lot of videos on it. I mean, there's a Spectre. Can't beat that. That's pretty rad. So there's all kinds of new monsters in here. This is an $18 supplement. I did the Nickstarter. I paid like $40. So I got this, and I got a box of 20 plastic cultist miniatures / soldiers. So I think it was a pretty good deal. And then the third one that just came out is Into the Breeding Pits. And this again does the same thing that Lair of the Lich Lord, or Thaw of the Lich Lord, does. It adds some new adventures, random encounters. This is all about exploring dungeons. So if you like your dungeon delving, I mean, if you're a D&D player, you're already probably familiar with dungeon delving. This brings it into the 3D realm of actual miniatures going through a dungeon. There's rules in here for traps and pits and all kinds of cool stuff. Again, it's another $18 book. I bought it on Amazon for, I think, $18, $17, $18. So not that to me, it's worth it. I mean, the information in here is good. They go under lighting because obviously you're underground, so lighting is an issue. Random encounters become even more of an issue. Secret passages, which brings your thief character, gives him a little bit extra to do. And then Beastcraft is the big thing, because the Breeding Pits was where the Beastmasters, which was a type of spellcaster in Felstad, they worked underground, and they experimented on all kinds of creepy stuff and made all kinds of monsters and weird things. So you get Beastcrafter spells, and there's like 3 levels, and Beastcrafter 1, 2, and 3, and it's a progression. And the nice part is they also introduce reaction spells in this. So now you're not just sitting there waiting for you go, I go, you go, I go. Now you can, when it's the other person's turn, you can actually, if you have a reaction spell, you can do it and try to counter and do some cool things. So it makes the game a little more complicated, but not very much. There's a whole bunch of lost. Well, there's one lost spell called Nightmare, and I won't ruin it for anybody. They add 2 new soldier types: the Trap Expert and the Tunnel Fighter, and they have different stat lines. And they, the Trap Expert is really cool because I think if you roll a 1 at the beginning of the turn to see who goes first, you roll off each turn to see who goes first, and if you roll a 1, the other person gets to set a trap. So that's kind of cool. And then there's 5 scenarios. There's new treasure, and there's a new bestiary with about 15 new critters. So definitely, for 30, so $60 roughly, you get all 3 books, and it's a lot of good information. It's a good read, if nothing else. It's not a whole lot of fluff. Joseph McCullough has some stuff on his blog. There's a bunch of downloads. Just go out there and look. On the web, on the interwebs, there's a bunch of downloads for character sheets or warband sheets. There's a really nice Excel warband creator, which lets you pick a starting warband and manage them. Because like Mordheim or other games, this is not a test. Those games, you have to manage your warband. It takes a little bit of work here. It's bookkeeping, but it's fun bookkeeping, and you get to upgrade your thing, and each book progressively adds more and more rules to the game, which make it a little more fun, a little more complex, but a little more fun. So remember I was talking about that gateway into RPGs and or miniatures. This is great. If you're a miniature player and you want to get a little bit more into RPGs or kind of get an idea of what they're about, this is a good gateway because it's a narrative campaign. There's a scenario, there's things you have to accomplish, and you're just using miniatures to do it, as opposed to random dice rolls on a character sheet. You kind of have that, but not as complex. So it's a great way to kind of get that feel of an RPG, but still play a miniatures game, and then decide if maybe you want to take the next step and go a little bit further into the RPG realm. So it's a good game for that. And then on the flip side, if you're an RPGer and you want to get into that miniature game, you got a bunch of friends that are playing Warhammer or playing, Wrath of Kings or, Malifaux or, whatever miniature game it is. This is a good way to, kind of get a feel for what they're doing. Because, as hobbyists, we're passionate about our hobby. So, but if you're not in that hobby, that passion can seem crazy. So this is a great gateway to kind of get a mind's eye into what the other person's doing. So that's just a quick little overview of Frostgrave and what you can and can't do in it a little bit. If you have any questions, leave them a note. As always, give a like and subscribe, and I appreciate it. We'll go back to do some more RPG reviews later on, but I just wanted to get this out. I hope everybody enjoys their nice long weekend, and peace and hair grease.